We've worked on many deals together. I'm very happy to say very signed. The deal's all signed. And the Strait is already partially opened. As you know, they're doing a little hunting for a couple of mines that they've already found. But it's essentially ships are starting to go out now. On Friday, it'll be completely opened. We got along very well with Iran. It's a different set of leaders. As you know, the first set is gone, the second set is gone, and we found the third set to be very smart, strong, very smart, but we ended up making a deal. I felt badly that we had to go back on the attack for 2 nights, and I thought a third, but we made it before that happened. But I think a lot of great things are going to happen in the Middle East right now, and very importantly, the oil is plummeting down, and the stock market is shooting up like a rocket today, like record kind of numbers. And the oil has taken its biggest plunge, and we're into the low numbers, not quite back yet, Kevin, to the extent, but we're getting close to the numbers we were before it all started. And the main thing is that Iran will not have a nuclear weapon. They fully agreed to that with strong policing powers, and they won't have a nuclear weapon, which is what it was all about, because they probably would have used it if they had it. So we had 2 big moments. When they terminated the JCPOA, that was the Obama deal, the Barack Hussein Obama deal. And when I terminated that, it was very important because it was a road to a nuclear weapon. It was a horrible deal for the United States. It was a deal where billions of dollars was given to Iran. It was a deal where $1.7 billion in cash was put on a Boeing 7, well, not a 757, I guess, right? But it was put on a big, beautiful Boeing 757. They needed a Boeing 747, to be honest with you, because it was a lot of cash. $1.7 billion was taken out of the banks and given to Iran. And on top of that, tens of billions of dollars was paid. So they tried to bribe them to make a deal, and that didn't work. It never works. And we've done a great job, and hopefully it's going to be a good relationship, and we're going to get along. And if we don't, we go back to where we started, but I don't think that's going to be necessary. The Iran deal that we made is going to bring a lot of success to the world, because the oil was really clogged up there for a while. He would call me on occasion and say, "Come on, please, let's go with the oil prices." But the oil is coming way down, so I'm very honored by it. I want to thank you for your help. You've always been a help, and it's an honor to be with you. We had a very good conversation yesterday with President Zelensky and President Putin, and I see maybe we can do something there. I really do. I think they're both open to it. So I'm going to, now that this is finished, we're going to be focusing on that, see if we can get that one done. 25,000 people a month are dying, mostly soldiers, and that shouldn't happen. But had 2 very good conversations yesterday. We'll be talking about it. And we had a really exciting, I think maybe one of the most incredible evenings in the history of the White House. We had an evening last night with the fighters, and I was very happy. I called last night, very late last night, to congratulate you, because in the heavyweight division, a French fighter won. I don't know, is that maybe more important than the World Cup? To some people it might be. To some people it might be. You have a good team in the World Cup. Very good team, but you have good fighters too. And you're a great country, and it's an honor to be with you. Thank you very much.
Hey, sir, are you going to try to attend the signing ceremony on Friday?
Well, it depends. JD's coming in for it. He was originally going to do it. I'll probably be gone by then. We're having dinner in a day and a half, right? We're going to be staying quite late. So I may be involved, I may not. But JD was coming in for that specifically.
Thank you.
Mr. President, when will the text of the MOU be released?
I think pretty soon. I would say, I mean, I want it to be released because it's a very powerful document. It's not like the Obama document, which was just a terrible document. This is a very powerful document, and I want it to be released, so probably pretty soon. I would say sometime after Friday, because the strait opens, it's open now, but it opens completely. We'll have all the mines knocked out for the most part. We have a lot of lanes right now already.
Mr. President.
So I think sometime in the very near future, yeah.
Mr. President, does the deal involve any sanctions relief for Iran? When would that go into
No, it
effect?
doesn't. Well, they have to. It's really a behavioral thing. If they do what they're supposed to do, that starts taking effect.
Monsieur Macron, quel engagement êtes-vous prêt à prendre au nom de la France dans le détroit d'Ormuz? Vous avez parlé du porte-avions Charles de Gaulle. Mr. President, what do you expect from France and...
Well, I would love them to do that. I don't think we're going to need much help because we have an agreement where it's going to be open. And it's toll-free. We had a little argument on that. It's toll-free. So I don't think we're going to need much help. But I don't think it's a bad idea to have a ship or two up here from a few countries. You'd be a great country to do it. Because you never know what happens. But I think it's going to be open, and I think it's going to be free sailing. We do want to see if we can straighten out the Lebanon thing, because it just seems to just never end. And that's a mini version of what we were doing, and it should not be tough. It should not be tough. So Hezbollah, we have to have a little talk with them.
Je vais répondre en français à la question qui a été posée en français sur la contribution. Nous sommes prêts à avoir dès demain des chasseurs qui sont sur place et qui peuvent aider aux missions d'observation, et sous 48 heures des frégates qui peuvent évidemment se déployer, et sous 2 à 3 jours le porte-avions avec les frégates qui l'accompagnent et l'ensemble du groupe. Évidemment, tout ça suppose d'être souhaité et demandé par les États-Unis d'Amérique et l'Iran et Oman, c'est-à-dire les parties prenantes de l'accord et les deux parties, en particulier autour du détroit. Et nous avons agrégé avec les Britanniques une mission ad hoc où d'ores et déjà une vingtaine de pays ont donné leur contribution concrète et ce qu'ils étaient prêts à faire, et nous sommes 4 à être présents dans la région. Donc voilà, c'est une offre, nous sommes à disposition, ça montre le soutien de la communauté internationale, notre volonté de réouvrir ce détroit. Et comme l'a dit le Président, peut-être que ça ne sera pas souhaité, et peut-être que ce ne sera pas nécessaire, mais en tout cas, c'est une disposition qui marque notre volonté d'aider, de soutien et notre disponibilité. Et nous sommes prêts.
Vous êtes inquiet sur les menaces de droite Monsieur le Président?
Non, on est là pour discuter. Il y a des accords qui ont été signés en avance.
Okay, thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup. Merci.
And a moment for the photographers and a moment for the press there at the G7 on Evian-sur-Baine to talk to the president or listen to the presidents of France and the United States. Let's get to Garrett Haake, who's been standing by here, chief White House correspondent, who's traveling with the president. A question there about the memorandum of understanding on whatever this deal is the U.S. and Iran will sign on Friday, when that will be released. A lot of details folks are eagerly anticipating.
Yeah, that's right, Christine. And the president kind of dodged, suggesting that it'll come later in the week. I can tell you that senior administration officials have indicated that MOU should be made public within the next 24 to 48 hours. And I think the whole world is interested in seeing it because the details that have been released thus far by the two governments involved have been at times contradictory. But the president hit on, I think, what is the key part of this, that the Strait of Hormuz will be reopened and that there is some kind of broad spectrum agreement that Iran will not have nor pursue a nuclear weapon. Now, that was the status quo under the previous agreement, the JCPOA, that you heard the president mention there meeting with Emmanuel Macron that he tore up during his first term. So there are a lot of critics of this deal and questions about it. But you heard both President Trump sort of laying out what he believes was accomplished here, and President Macron being quite complimentary of President Trump for how this is being handled. And Christine, I'll note that President Trump also said something else that was probably very well received by the French president, which is that he will now return his attention to the conflict in Ukraine. This has been something that Macron and the other European leaders have really wanted to try to steer President Trump back towards during this G7 summit over the next couple days. And the president giving his host a bit of an opening gift by saying outright that he's ready to focus a little bit more on that war now that this conflict in Iran appears to be behind the United States.
Yeah, and he noted they had an excellent conversation with Zelensky and Vladimir Zelensky and Vladimir Putin yesterday, he said. So clearly that is something that Emmanuel Macron wants to continue. He has been a peacemaker for months and months now on that front, a hot war right there in Europe's neighborhood. I want to go back to Iran. The president said Iran will not have a nuclear weapon. Iran has agreed to that with strong policing powers. And as you said, he criticized the prior U.S. agreement with Iran because it gave cash to the Iranian regime. Do we know what is in this new agreement that President Trump has forged with Iran, and if indeed it will also give cash to the Iranian regime?
Both of those points are a bit opaque right now, the cash part of it and the policing of this agreement. What we have seen and heard from the administration so far has not laid out whether there's any kind of third party that would verify Iran's compliance with this deal, whether it's the IAEA or some other group that would, report back on whether they've dug up and destroyed or downgraded their nuclear material. That's very much an open question. So, too, is what funds Iran might receive and from whom. There's been reporting about funds set up by some of their Gulf neighbors. There's been reporting about money around the world that might be unfrozen. To the degree we have any information about that, it's come from senior administration officials and from the vice president, who's given some interviews today, suggesting that this will all be compliance-based, so that whatever mechanism exists to ensure Iran is complying, which has not been outlined, if Iran is complying with this deal to the United States' satisfaction over a period of weeks or months, Iran could be reintegrated into the global economy with money unfrozen and investment money coming in. I think what that looks like and whether that's a euphemism of some kind are big open questions that perhaps the text of the MOU will answer. But again, even Vance has said in one of his interviews today that there are side conversations with the Iranians that aren't even laid out in the MOU. And so I think this is going to be a moving target for quite some time, Christine.
Yeah, indeed. Just quickly, the president said about Hezbollah, we have to have a little talk with them. It sounds like Israeli strikes in southern Lebanon, that's also something in this deal.
Look, this has been a huge tripwire for this deal going back for weeks. The Iranians have viewed Israel's war in Lebanon with Hezbollah as central to these negotiations. The U.S. had hoped to kind of push past that, but Israel continuing to strike targets in Lebanon, including in the suburbs of Beirut in recent days, was looked at as a major threat to this deal moving forward. The president had what's been described as a very tense conversation with Prime Minister Netanyahu, with some four-letter words used here, and some frustration that the Israelis were still moving aggressively in what they say is their own defensive interest. How Israel and Lebanon, or Israel and Hezbollah more accurately, continue their conflict or not in this moment, I think is another one of those things that could jeopardize this agreement in coming days or weeks if it's not contained.
All right, Garrett Haake traveling with the president. Thank you so much, Garrett. We're going to have more coverage ahead of the president's G7 trip throughout the day on NBC News and online at NBCnews.com. I'm Christine Romans. NBC News Daily picks up next.